President Kenyatta and the government of the people of Kenya. I welcome you for choosing to be in Nairobi, and I welcome you to Nairobi. President Kenyatta sends his regards to all of you and his good wishes for a successful plenary session in Nairobi this time. And as a faithful messenger, I now deliver his message. A statement by His Excellency Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, during the 12th Ordinary Session of the Plenary Assembly of the Forum of Parliaments of the Member States of the International Conference of the Great Lakes Region on the 5th of April 2022. The Speaker of the Kenyan Senate, heads of delegations from the 12 member countries of the Great Lakes region, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am most pleased to join you today as we reaffirm the strong alliance of the 12 nations bound together by a shared heritage in the large Rift Lakes region of Africa. We convene at a unique time in the history of the world and the region. Globally, our efforts to build our economies back after the COVID-19 pandemic have been slowed down by a myriad of events on the international stage, events which have put multilateralism as we know it under stress. Therefore, the 12th plenary of the Forum of Parliaments of the Member States of the International Conference on the Great Lakes region is timely, and its theme, the role of Parliament in conflict resolution, is most apt. Ladies and gentlemen, Parliaments are an expression of the sovereignty and majesty of the people. Through those legislative chambers, the soul and the consciousness of the nation are brought to the fore. Parliaments are the voice of the citizens and the hands of their will, and the guardians of the cherished principles and values that define who we are and where we want to go as nations and peoples. Our Kenyan Parliament, for example, since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, has been at the forefront of spearheading our national efforts to insulate our people from the adverse effects of this disease, to mitigate the resultant socioeconomic pressures, and to lay the foundation for a bold build back that secures a better and more resilient future for all of us. As this forum was actualized and came to life in the year 2008, the Kenyan Parliament was institutionalizing the national accord between the two main political factions in Kenya after the 2007 general elections. Kenya's august houses were not unique in that regard. Across the region, parliaments answered the call, and through their leadership and decisive actions, kept the flame of freedom, democracy, and progress burning bright, even in unprecedentedly dark times. Drawing from the lessons learned from the COVID-19 pandemic, our legislatures have a unique role to play by continually addressing the issues of equitable distribution of resources and economic development. Parliamentarians are critical in creating and sustaining the enabling environment that guards against the emergence and escalation of conflict. Today, with escalations in commodity prices in the region and around the globe, and severe constraints on supply chains, the challenges we face are ever greater. The road ahead is hard and fraught with uncertainty. However, our individual and collective histories show that we are up to the task, no matter how seemingly insurmountable those challenges may be. Our parliaments are tried and tested. Whenever our people have called on their representatives to take the necessary actions to secure the economy and way of life, our parliaments have led us out of turbulent storms and into the calm waters of peace and prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme of this 12th plenary assembly, the role of Parliament in conflict resolution, like an African stool, encapsulates the three-legged foundation of firm and stable actions necessary for our progress. Firstly, an appraisal of the collective condition of the Great Lakes region informs that the region remains relatively stable, although with some limited instances of instability, insecurity, and armed conflict. Secondly, at the interstate level, where once relations among some of our nations had been lukewarm, we can gladly point out to the thawing of tensions and movement towards brighter and more collaborative engagements. Thirdly, the region has turned a corner from the recurring conflicts and tensions that once caused easily avoidable deaths and displacement of many peoples within and across borders, as well as the large-scale destruction of property and misuse of resources. As we emerge from that torrid past, we must not lose sight of the fact that conflict is a scourge that robs our people of immense dividends and opportunities inherent in peace and stability. Conflict increases unemployment, especially of young people, fuels sexual violence against women and girls, deepens the indignity of food insecurity and absolute poverty of populations living in areas of armed conflict. It drives the illegal exploitation and trade in natural resources that provides income to armed groups and gives greater impetus to the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. Ladies and gentlemen, this assembly has the task of providing our 12 nations with a comprehensive and achievable roadmap to our parliaments, contributing more towards conflict resolution. We will only achieve that if we make this 12th plenary assembly a questioning conference. In that regard, I would like to propose a 5-point questioning framework for the participants today. This framework should guide us in understanding the problem and charting the way forward. 1. Is the role of Parliament preventive or responsive after the fact? 2. When Parliament intervenes, at what stage in the conflict cycle should it intervene and how? 3. And alive to the Litma House principles, how should Parliament's intervention role be exercised within the context of the rule of law and the separation of powers and roles? 4. What collegiate and peer review mechanisms can parliaments in the region adopt to both support each other and also hold each other accountable? 5th, how do we inculcate public participation by citizens, bring in civil society, our international partners, and our regional, continental, and global associations, and our built-in shared bonds into this conflict prevention and conflict resolution framework? Ladies and gentlemen, as you deliberate on these very pertinent issues, remember that the eyes and hopes and aspirations of hundreds of millions rest firmly on you. I trust that you shall lead the region into a bright new dawn that is free of conflict, that is bold and responsive to the desire of our people for peace and prosperity, and which breathes life into the unity and common purpose that must be the foundation for our individual and collective peace and security. I urge you to be the voices that champion for a conflict-free Great Lakes region, one which is typified by peace, cohesion, social justice, and realization of the Pan-African dreams of our founding fathers. With those remarks, it's now my distinct honor and high privilege to declare the 12th Plenary Assembly of the Forum of Parliaments of Member States of the International Conference of the Great Lakes Region duly convened, and take this opportunity to wish you fruitful deliberations. I thank you.